So, we started our vacation flying out of Sky Harbor and flying directly into Fort Lauderdale, a 4-hour flight. When we got there, we ended up staying in a hotel for a night because there were no connecting flights the same day. So we flew out the next day to Cartagena, and that leg was a 3-hour flight. From the airport, the hotel shuttle picked us up and took us to our hotel at the Hotel Santa Clara, located in the heart of the historic walled city of Cartagena, for our 5-night stay. When we entered the hotel, we were greeted by the bellhop Javier. Nice guy, always with a smile. As you enter, there's a garden located in the center part of the hotel where you can have breakfast, lunch, or dinner, and also see the many different types of birds and lizards roaming about. A piece of many types of art throughout the hotel. The pool that we never ended up getting in, but it was still nice to look at. A view from the terrace in the pool area. While up there, I was greeted by 2 locals as they shouted, "Welcome to my city," from below. A common phrase used by locals to greet visiting tourists. I must admit, it was pretty welcoming to see locals be that happy and excited to see people from abroad visiting their city. This was the plaza that is located right in front of the hotel, called Plaza San Diego. This was one of many plazas scattered all throughout the city, and when I say all throughout, I mean all throughout the city. In the walled city alone, there has to be close to 30 small parks and plazas. We visited about 8 during our stay. Here at this plaza, many people sell art and jewelry, trying to take advantage of the heavy tourism that comes through here, including us. We didn't buy anything from this particular plaza though, other than a horse ride. You'll see that later. This is a photo of the many palenqueras that we ran into who reside all throughout the city of Cartagena. More on them and their very interesting history and culture later as well. This was one of the many performers throughout the city of Cartagena. This particular guy was performing as Michael Jackson, dancing to the song Thriller, and he was very entertaining. He even danced on the cab as it pulled up. I couldn't tell if that was staged or real, but it was great entertainment. On day 3, we took a 15-minute walk from our hotel down to Plaza de Santa Teresa to take a walking tour of the city. At first, we were concerned about the weather, and I'm not talking about rain, but the dreaded humidity. It's brutal. Luckily, the day wasn't that bad. It was about 85 degrees with the humidity around 65%, which was better than other days we experienced at 92 degrees and 90% humidity. Kill me now, please. So we'll take it. At stop 1, we met up with our tour guide, Edgar. We all introduced ourselves, and we all got to find out where everyone was from. We had people from all over the globe. There were people from Sweden, Hungary, Turkey, Brazil, Australia, and Italy. A very diverse group. At stop 2, we stopped at the statue of San Pedro Claver, who we learned was a Spanish Jesuit priest and missionary born in Verdú, Spain, who due to his life and work became the patron saint of the enslaved people of Colombia during the mid-17th century. A very interesting story of a man who had a huge role in the safety, humanity, and well-being of slaves during this time. At stop 3, we visited the Baluarte de San Ignacio, a bastion located on the side of the House of the Jesuits, with multiple cannons to defend its walled city. At stop 4, we learned about the culture and history of the Palenqueras, who are a group of women from San Basilio de Palenque, a township located 45 minutes from Cartagena that is known for being the first free black slave town in the Americas. These women are descendants of slaves during the Spanish colonial era, heirs of captive slaves who won their freedom by escaping to faraway places. While free, they adapted by selling fruit to locals that they would keep on their heads while wearing colorful dresses reminiscent of their African heritage and culture. Now they do not actually sell the fruit anymore. They realize they can actually make more money on tips taking photos with tourists. At stop 5, we learned about the monument of Christopher Columbus and how and why this statue was constructed. It's a long story, so if you're interested, look it up. At stops 6 and 7, we learned about El Torre de Reloj de Cartagena, the clock tower of Cartagena. The name came from the addition of a clock to the top of the gate at the start of the 18th century. It's the main city gate of the historic center of Cartagena, and it's also the original fortified entrance to the city. The gate took 30 years to build, from 1601 to 1631, and at the time it was known as the Boca del Puente, the mouth of the bridge, because it connected Gethsemane to the old city. Then we all walked out to the Plaza del Reloj to learn some more facts from Edgar about the city entrance. Here at stop 9, we stopped at the Rafael del Castillo building, a building named after a man in 1861 who was one of the first licensed businessmen in Colombia, who brought a lot of industrial and agricultural goods, mainly in the milling industry, to the city of Cartagena, with distribution all over Colombia. At stop 10, we visited the Plaza de la Proclamación, named after the events that took place on November 11th of 1811, when the citizens of Cartagena got together at this plaza to support the signers of the Act of Independence from Spain. The next stop, right next to the Plaza de la Proclamación, was the Cathedral of Cartagena de Indias, built between 1577 and 1612, whose construction was delayed due to an attack by Sir Francis Drake in 1586 that left severe damage. The church is beautiful inside and looks straight out of a movie. At stop 13, we visited the Plaza de la Boulevard, taking its name from Simón Bolívar, the Venezuelan-born military leader who played a key role in liberating Latin America from the Spanish. The statue in the center is dedicated to him. Here at stop 14, we visited a site that shows all the Miss Universe contestants that have competed for the crown throughout the competition's history, including Colombia's 2 winners from 1958 and 2014, Luz Marina Zuluaga and Paulina Vega, respectively. At stop 15, we stopped here at this door to talk about the significance of large doors to houses and buildings. A large extravagant door meant someone with power and authority resided there, and in this case, it was the governor. The large doors would also have large lion door knockers as well to display even more authority and power. So whenever you see a large door similar to this one in Cartagena, it meant someone very important usually resided there. Here at stop 16, we visited another plaza, Plaza de Santo Domingo, named after the Santo Domingo Church. The restaurants here have plenty of outdoor seating and are the perfect spot for a dinner under the stars. The lively plaza is full of tourists and street vendors at all hours of the day. The plaza also has a creepy past. It was once the site of executions during the Spanish Inquisition, where Jewish people and non-Catholics were persecuted. There is even a legend that the devil himself tried jumping on the roof of the church of Santo Domingo. But the star of the plaza, without a doubt, is La Gorda Gertrudis, a chubby bronze woman that lies naked on a pedestal in the square. Rumor has it that if you give her breast a rub, you'll have good luck. Hey now. The statue was created by the world-famous Colombian artist Fernando Botero. More on him later, along with his pieces of art currently being shown here in the valley. We stopped here real quick at stop 17 to learn about more door knockers and their significance. We found out that a lion was for government, a hand was for the religious, and a minotaur was for security. We made another quick stop at the Plaza de la Merced before we headed inside. The attraction of this plaza, more than anything, is the bastion that it borders and the historical Heredia Theater. It takes its name from the old church of Las Mercedes, located where the theater is today. It's also the place where several heroes of independence were executed. At our last and final stop, Edgar talked about the blending of different nationalities and races here in Colombia, and how they are distinguished on a chart showing the various skin tones and facial features from those who are of African, Spanish, and indigenous descent, known as mestizos, mulattoes, and zombos. So that wrapped up our tour, and we headed back to our hotel afterwards before we hit up the nightlife. And here's the statue called La Gorda Gertrudis, Fat Gertrude, by artist Fernando Botero, I mentioned earlier in the Plaza de Santo Domingo stop. If anyone is interested, you can see some of his pieces at the Desert Botanical Gardens, where they're having an exhibit of his artwork. I went last month, and it was great. And here are some more shots of some sights around the city. Later that evening, we came back into the city to check out the nightlife, and we happened to run into a performance of some cumbia dancers at one of the plazas we visited during the walking tour, Plaza de la Proclamacion. It was a great show, very entertaining and full of pumping, bumping, and grinding throughout. So also, if you're interested in seeing this video of the dancers, along with videos we took on this trip and other trips too, you can see them all on our YouTube channel at Calhio Travels, spelled Calhio Travels. Like and subscribe, please. We also had dinner that evening, just before sunset, at the top of a bastion that was converted into a restaurant called Cafe Del Mar. We had to get there kind of early in order to catch the sunset. It's a pretty popular spot, and everyone comes for the same thing, the sunset. Luckily, we had a reservation though, and we were able to get in with some ease. We decided not to have dinner though, and just watch the sunset over some drinks, because the wind was almost unbearable. On our second day, we woke up early to catch a cab that took us down to the docks, where we boarded a boat to take us to an island resort called Gente de Mar, located on Isla Grande, or Big Island. The boat ride took about 30 minutes, and we all had to wear life vests because it wasn't just an ordinary boat, it was a jet boat, and we were flying through the waters. If you had a hat on, you had to make sure it was secured, because if it wasn't, it was a goner. I just took mine off because I was not going to risk it. So when the boat docked, we all straightened out our faces, checked our toupees and hair extensions, and gathered up our belongings and walked across the dock and headed into the resort. When we arrived, we were greeted with drinks and a reception from Hector to fill us in on the agenda for the day, which included a delicious lunch at noon. I had the fish, it was great. We then headed down to the beach to set up in our chase loungers, where we were greeted by James, our own personal attendant, who kindly set up chairs with towels and ordered some drinks and snacks for us while we lounged. They had a bar that served many different types of drinks that they would bring right to us as we relax. This little guy was just one of the many dogs that roamed the island in packs looking for scraps and friends to pet them. And these were just some visual shots of the beach. Day 4 probably turned out to be our most favorite day of the whole trip, Gethsemane. So we took a cab from our hotel to the center of Gethsemane. This was the route we took driving, and the red ball was the route we walked throughout the region. And here are some photos and video as we walked about. Enjoy. This was the canvas painting we bought from this vendor, along with another, proudly framed and hung on our wall at home. It's 6 feet by 4 feet. The other one is 3 feet by 2 feet. They rolled them up and put them both in a single tube for us. We almost lost them coming through customs. That was another ordeal, but it worked out. And here's the other one.
You are the boss. You are the boss. Hey, you are the boss. Hey, hueco tu Colombia, hueco tu Cartagena. El super strong como Antonio Bandera. Óyeme, patrón, tú eres un pío. Mataste a y la sacaste de castillo. Cuando el anillo, yo soy sencillo, tú eres Pablito Aramillo. Sigue improvisando, pero esto está que explota. No es Karol G, pero tremenda bichota. Óyeme, patrona, te luce vestido. Pareces una actriz de los Estados Unidos. Esto es de verdad, bienvenido a Cartagena. Pero ella no es blanquita, pero sí es morena. Yo nunca me quedo. Ella you are the boss, pero she's the queen. Ella es más bonita que Karol G. Esto es de verdad, bienvenido a Cartagena. Tú estás bien fuerte, así como John Cena. Tú eres el patrón y te canto relajado. Tienes una pinta de gerente pensionado. Óyeme, patrón, yo te bailo champeta. Y si tú no tienes flota, regálame la chancleta.
Chancleta.
Pero chiste, vos, y tú eres más bonita que Malili Morrón.
Sí.
Y tú eres el patrón, Cartagena welcome. Tú no estás gordito, te rellenito de amor. noche no popeo, manda la huida, un traqueteo. Ay, saca el chupito pa' afuera, montes el cocho pa' lancha, petero, una jarra, guarapo, sin tembladera. Soy bajo el mundo hasta que muera.
Good job.
Sí, welcome to the Cartagena, she's the queen, bendiciones para ti, nena. Que bless you, tú sabes, man, pura gente de la buena, hey. Y que mi Dios me lo bendiga, compañero, bendiciones, mi compay, de parte de este rapero. Hey, creo que me equivoqué, tú no hablas español y yo no hablo inglés, pero que blessing para ti. Váyalo, compay, voy con gente maní. Mucho gusto, me presento, rapero number one, compadre de toda la CD. Que Dios me lo bendiga, bendiciones, hermano. Me gusta verlo tranquilo, que visto bacán. Buena energía siempre de parte del chavo. Así la vida en la calle, siempre la ganamos. Jamie, what's your name?
Stacy.
Se llama Stacy. Qué bella dama, estamos demostrando que algún día vamos directo para el Salón de la Fama, hey, thank you, get blessed. Cartagena, Puerto, sabes cómo es, la vida no la vivo de estrés, prosperidad en este 2023 para ustedes y para su familia,
Joe.
Thank you, muchas gracias, compadre.
We spent the remainder of our last 5 days here at the Sofitel Badu Calablanca, a resort on the peninsula of Badu in Cartagena. So, we took a 15-minute cab ride from our hotel to the docks. Let me just tell you all, there is absolutely no way I would ever rent a car here under no circumstances at all. The roads are a free-for-all, meaning just drive any way you please and do your best not to hit or bump anyone with your car. There were plenty of times where motorcycle and scooter drivers would bump into cars and just drive off like it's normal. There are no lanes, so everyone just pushes through on a first-come, first-served basis. Signaling is completely useless. When we got to the dock, we, along with other guests, boarded the boat and we headed out to the resort. When we docked, we were greeted with smiles and cold wet wipes to help with the humidity. We then hopped on our golf carts and headed up to the resort to check in. For check-in, we were taken to our room with a tour of the resort before we got to our room. These were some of the on-property modern villas they have for sale. They are coming out very nice. When we were given our walkthrough, I could tell these are going to look amazing. This food truck probably had some of the best food on the resort. Their fish tacos were unbelievable. We took a private 60-minute cumbia dance lesson. We had a blast, and the teachers had a good time watching us try to do the dance moves. They were dying laughing, mostly at me though. And that concluded our trip.